Hey guys, Youngblood with you, and today I wanted to talk about organizations in the game, what they are, why you should probably join one, and how you can find one. So to start, let's just cover what organizations are. And an organization is basically Star Citizen's version of a clan or a guild. There's a variety of different types that can be chosen from, and when you're on the search function on the RSI site, which you can find under Community and then Organizations, you'll see that there's several different categories. Under commitment, you have casual, regular, and hardcore. I would really imagine here that most of the groups are going to default over to regular, and you won't really know what you're getting into unless you kind of jump in and play with them, or more importantly, you read their org page to get a better idea. But casual is normally going to be a group of people that play but don't really have a formalized chain of command or operations that are running every night. They just kind of like to play around together. While the flip side of that is going to be hardcore, and you can imagine that these are either very active, very organized, very tenuous groups to play with. When it comes down to roleplay, this one's simple. Do you RP a chain of command or interact with each other in character, or if you're not, are you just playing as friends who have avatars that are in the game only? Size isn't really something that an organization can choose when they're setting something up, so the question here is really just kind of what you're looking for. Because if you want something that's smaller, you might end up with a kind of more intimate group where you know all of the people well. Or if you choose a big group where you just have a chance at interacting with a lot of different people, but maybe you don't form a lot of close bonds unless your schedules kind of line up frequently. Archetype is where you'll get a good idea for the type of group this is, because it's kind of your group's structure or kind of mission. Organization is the default and is what most of the groups are going to choose, and it's basically the catch-all. Corporation should be focused probably on commerce and earning. PMC is going to be paramilitary and focused on combat. Faith is religious-based, either in-game or in reality. Syndicate is going to be crime families. Club is mostly going to be fan-based and ancillary orgs, either dedicated to shows that people appreciate in pop culture stuff, or in-game things like groups who have unique ships like javelins or something like that. I think when you look at activities, that's probably going to be the best way to filter down to the core focus of a group. And while that may be easy for things like syndicates and PMC, when it comes to others, especially with large groups, you may plan and actually do support all types of different activities. But you might be bottlenecked to a few based on the site that, the RSI site. So reading an org's page is going to be pretty crucial. My organization, for example, PXP, we're recruiting so people can find us on the web, and we're listed as a regular organization because we have nights where we're organized, but we don't really have like a real formalized steep chain of command or have plans every night, and are casual on most of the nights. When it comes to roleplay, we're no roleplay, large size because we're about 1,700 members. Organization is our archetype because, like I mentioned, we do all the different activities. And we primarily have transport and security currently listed as our activities. But since we are supporting all lawful activities as an organization, we tend to swap that secondary activity from time to time to try to hopefully draw in new players that would be a good fit for our grouping. That's not meant to be a full-on recruiting message. What that is, though, is just an example of how we have set up our org and how that may help you in finding what you're looking for by tweaking those to kind of get to the right place. Now, if you go into that search function and you search for the right combination of what suits your desires, you're going to find groups that are worthy of your review. But don't just jump in yet with an application. On that page, there's a history tab, and you can click on that to see how long they've been around. You can see if they're a larger gaming community that supports multiple games, if that's something that you're looking for, or maybe it's a group that's just really focused on Star Citizen. Manifesto tab will tell you a little bit about their core mission of that team in Star Citizen. And if that still aligns with you, then go to Charter, which will likely give you rules and information about how they play. Understanding who you're attempting to connect with is an important step in finding the right group. I would also say don't just trust the selection options on the search. Really look in the details in their org page, or hell, throw caution to the wind and go and play at the group and see if it's a good fit, because at the end of the day, you're not stuck anywhere. You can leave anywhere you want whenever you want to. And if you do get in and play with them, you'll get a pretty good idea pretty quick if they're right for you or not. Now, when it comes down to why you should consider joining an organization, there's a lot to consider. The simplest answer is that not all of us have PC gaming friends, especially in this type of game that requires high-end setups and ships are kind of expensive, so there's that kind of nature to the game. Basically just meaning that a lot of our IRL friends have moved on from gaming at this point or kind of moving more towards console. So finding players to spend time with in one of the hobbies that we really appreciate doing is pretty important. Now, in the more near term, the game is glitchy, it's a little wonky, it's kind of weird, meaning that things go wrong a lot, and having a friend to help you can be critical. I can recall a time many patches ago where I was trading Laranite, and my Caterpillar's landing gear slipped through the planet's surface, and I couldn't take off. But I had 1.3 million credits invested in that ship and cargo, so claiming it would have been a massive loss. Called one of my PXP org mates over who took his Vanguard, used the size 5 nose as a spatula, and basically pried my ship out of the geometry of the moon. Now, I've taken countless friends from point A to point B who have lost ships or gotten them positioned in good spots to be able to jump out of my ship into theirs where it was no longer accessible from the ground. But besides, having help navigating an alpha game, there's a lot of missions that require multiple people that you can count on, like killing an Idris is a hard task for one ship, or double tap missions that requires 2 kills in 2 minutes. We have ships that have 6 turrets on them, like the Hammerhead, or really just with turret and capacitor changes in the game, having a multi-crewed ship is now better than multiple ships in most instances. So having friends to fill out ships to some degree is a huge advantage. If you're into mining, some rocks are too big for a prospector, but 2 can crack them, or you could take a mole. High-end bunker missions are very hard to do solo, so having backup to watch your 6 or to revive you if you should fall, there are really just countless reasons in this game to play with friends, because expecting the general population to help you is unreliable at best and time-consuming or fruitless at worst. Having friends, org mates, that are there for you to bring a hacking card and support you while you clear a crime stat or just hang out with you in the late nights is so helpful. It's really just beyond words. Things only are going to be getting more complicated for solo players in the future. The universe is going to expand in a big way soon, meaning that you have long travel times in big systems and moving what you need and refueling, repairing, rearming, healing. All of these things are almost going to become group activities. Pyro, for example, is going to be a huge adjustment for people. If you're a player that only comes into the game with a small fighter, for example, it's going to take you a very long time to travel across the system. But if you have a friend that has a Kraken or a Liberator, or maybe your org has pooled together to pick some of these things up, you can dock your ship with them and they can take you where you need to go without doing a stop-to-stop process across truck stops throughout the Pyro system. If you get into trouble and you have a network, you may not need to cast a distress beacon where you really pray and hope, especially in a lawless place like Pyro, and you can have friends there to get your back. Or maybe they were in your group anyways, jumping together, so if you get pulled out and are addicted, you have support there to help fight off whatever threat is waiting for you. Playing solo is something the game will allow you to do. But to really be as effective as possible, having a team with you is really pretty indispensable and something you really need to try, even if you don't think you'll like it. Another way to make this work, if you don't want to do shopping on the org page on the RSI site, if you do decide that finding a group to play with is the right step, is to simply look for people to play with in the game. Find people who rally to your aid or want to play the same things that you do. Maybe somebody asks you to team up and run a turret. Invite them to your friends list. Find a good way to communicate with them, and maybe consider starting your own org. Really, the heart of any organization is consistent and active players. So if you find people that are going to do that and they're going to play with you often, it's a big pickup. So don't feel you need to join a gigantic group, because frankly, a lot of those are active and they play often together, are the ones that know each other. The best ones are the ones that know how they move, when they do it and why. And that's really what leads to the most success. So find groups that are active and you enjoy and play. Yeah, you guys will get better as time proceeds. So at the end of the day, when it comes to the question of if you should join an organization or not, the answer is pretty simply yes. You don't have to, but you're missing out on being as successful as possible in the game and are really opting to make things more complicated than you would otherwise. It doesn't have to be a big group. You should probably also be aware that a lot of the invites that you receive are often spam from the largest groups. So do your research. Don't just accept anything that comes over unless you do just want to be a part of one of the biggest groups. Find the group that resonates with you, get in to play with them, and that's really it. So in the next video, I want to maybe take this a little bit different direction, but really focus more on the current state of organizations, how you can end up meeting up with them, like looking at org pages for their contact information. And really, the meat and potatoes is going to be what CIG needs to give us in order to pull people together better. So with that in mind, there's the organization value proposition kind of summarized. I hope that helps. If you have questions, let me know. Otherwise, thank you all for watching. Have yourselves a wonderful day, and take care.